What is up, guys? Team Snag and West here. Now, as you may have known, Junichi Masuda had an interview with Famitsu where he talked about, the upcoming Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee games. Now, it is a bit of a read. It's a 4-page article. So I kind of just took bits and pieces out of it and made my own 4-page Word document. So it's a little slightly summarized. I will put the link to the full article in the description if you want to actually read everything, but I kind of just took things out that I found interesting. So let's go ahead and we'll cover those. So the first thing I found interesting, they asked Masuda, incorporating elements from Pokemon Go is quite groundbreaking. It must have taken a lot of courage to make that decision. And Masuda said, "It was a daunting task we took upon ourselves for sure. There was considerable debate within the team concerning the absence of wild Pokemon battles. Up until this point, I have been steadfast in defending the mechanic as the series director. This time, though, I felt like we should try to change things up a bit. Personally, I've always felt that the weakening and capturing mechanic is a bit like fishing. There are people that aren't fans of that kind of strategy, though. To that end, as I mentioned before, I wanted to make these games more enjoyable for a wider audience of fans. As such, we simplified the mechanics until now. Catching Pokemon has been vaguely reminiscent of fishing, whereas I had likened the new mechanic to catching bugs with the net. I have to wonder if people will enjoy that sort of straightforward mechanic more so than the previous mechanic." So right there he's explaining basically his change on, why he felt like changing that was necessary, just to kind of mix it up. It's not we're not always fishing, and we're more like just catching bugs with nets instead of fishing and waiting for it. We're just going after it. So that makes sense. The next thing here was changing something so fundamental as the capturing mechanic would be difficult for somebody who isn't you, Mr. Masuda, wouldn't it? None of the younger staff could decide something so bold as that, I'd imagine. And then Masuda said, there are certainly plenty of other mechanics that'd be difficult to change, I'd guess. But if we as developers don't actively confront these kinds of changes, the series gameplay would become fixed and stale, wouldn't it? So to prevent that staleness, I'd like to keep proposing new ways of play without any reservations. Of course, there will be those that aren't satisfied with the changes, but even so, the driving idea behind these games is that they're for everybody to enjoy. Given that philosophy, I will do my best to make sure that future games will reflect the feedback we receive, both good and bad. So right there he's explaining why he changed it just as a refresh. I'm not really sold on that because Call of Duty for years was a really big game, and then they started changing it, and then it became less popular. So when you start developing a core fan base, you need to tweak some things, but not necessarily change too much. Now, I don't think the catching mechanic is game breaking at all. To me it's okay, it doesn't really affect me that much because how many times do we just avoid wild encounters anyway? So I'm not really as upset as everybody else is on that. So the third thing here was the question was, obviously the gameplay is significantly new, but as a whole, can you tell us how the story has changed? Now this one kind of struck me. Masuda said, in remaking a 20-year-old product, the hardware is completely different, and the graphics and sound have evolved into a completely different caliber. The story, however, hasn't really changed all that much. Players will notice a few additional elements here and there, though. For example, now that I think back on Pokemon Yellow version, there are some instances where it might be difficult to figure out where to go next, or where the next objective is. In this game, by contrast, there are a few supplementary features that make the game a bit easier to play. Now, I hate this. I'm not a big fan of, of Pokemon games holding your hand. Sun and Moon, Ultimate hand holding, X and Y hand holding. I'm not a big fan on this. My favorite thing about the first 1, 2, even second generation is you kind of have multiple paths, and I feel like that's what makes an RPG game good. Is there's no certain path. When you have a set path, you're just stuck on going one certain way. So I'm not really sold on the whole more games to keep hand-holding us, but I guess it will be good for those new players. But they said the same thing about Sun and Moon. It's good for good players. I'm not really sold on that. I'm not a fan of that comment at all, really. And the next question was, excuse me, nowadays it seems that people perceive Pokemon as more than just game characters, don't you think? Masuda said, in the past, I avoided putting things like clothing on Pikachu, mostly because people might have been confused as to what were clothes and what was its body. But Champ, by the way, isn't wearing pants, it's his body. These days, even if Pikachu's wearing clothes, people can still perfectly recognize that it's Pikachu, and I really appreciate that. So, I mean, I just thought that was a funny comment. I wanted to include this in here, that he's actually pointing out that, like, Machamp's not actually wearing clothes, it's actually part of Machamp. So everyone's like, oh, is Machamp wearing clothes? He's not? Well, this ends the debate. It's Machamp. That's his body. The next thing here is, next question is, in Pokemon Yellow version, your partner Pokemon Pikachu could walk alongside you. In the newest iteration of Pokemon games, you can choose either Pikachu or Eevee, depending on which version you buy. Can you tell us a little bit about why Eevee was chosen to be one of the player's potential partners? What prompted this change? Now, I thought this was a very interesting question, because I was like, they could have picked any Pokemon, but it's like, why Eevee? And luckily, Masuda actually explained it really well, and I actually liked the way he explained this here. So Masuda said, well, in Pokemon Yellow version, Eevee is the first Pokemon your rival chooses. But truth be told, in the end, it was the depth of the fans' love for Eevee that prompted the choice. A lot of fans send me pictures of Eevee that they themselves have drawn. Sometimes they're even cuter than the original art. The fans' support was particularly evident on November 21st, which we've declared to be Eevee Day, a day celebrating the Pokemon and its evolutions. The celebration really reached a lot of fans. When you see one, you can't help but be excited and wonder what's it going to grow up into. It radiates the same kind of cuteness as a baby, I think, in the end. That cute charm that Eevee exudes is what cemented the decision. I definitely didn't want fans to be disappointed by the choice, so I did a little bit of research beforehand. So there we go. It's Eevee because, well, Eevee's pretty popular. Everyone loved Eevee Day, and because it's the other Yellow version starter that you can't pick because, you know, Blue takes it from you. Next question is, we're really looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. Incidentally, I think there are a lot of people who've gotten attached to the Pokemon that they've caught in Pokemon Go. Do these games have an appeal to that kind of player? Masuda goes on and says, I think one of the best things about Pokemon Go is that it's the kind of game that really allows you to remember when and where you caught your Pokemon. Naturally then, you'd want to keep those Pokemon and the memories they carry close at hand, right? You can take those Pokemon and the countless other Pokemon you've captured to Let's Go games, you can add them to your team, interact with them, or even just enjoy their in-game animations in the game's Go Park. Now this, I wanted to include this in here because, like, that does kind of strike a chord with me, because, like, when my dogs, you know, passed away last year, like, I caught a Venonat, and I named my Venonat for my dog. So my Venonat, I still have, has terrible CP and terrible IVs, but I keep it because it's, like, from that moment. And then, like, when I went to Universal, I caught a bunch of Pokemon, and I still have, like, you know, the main Pokemon from there, just so I could always remember that moment. So I kind of like that he actually, like, included that in there. Now this, I thought was extremely interesting. The next one here is, how do a Pokemon's level in CP differ? Because I think it's something we all want to know. Masuda, well, for one, two Pokemon of the same level may have entirely different CP. This generally means that the Pokemon with a higher CP must be better in some way. If anything, the CP value is only there so that fans who have played past entries in the mainline series can better understand the strength of their Pokemon. So CP is just there mainly for Go players, so they can understand, like, oh my god, this Pokemon has higher CP, so, you know, it has to be better than this Pokemon with lower CP. Which makes sense. I totally understand that. And then they go on and ask, so in other words, a player who wants a high-performance Pokemon will have to keep an eye on its CP value as well. That reminds me, around May 30th's Pokemon press conference, there were some rumors that players may be able to befriend Alolan form Pokemon as well. Is there any way to catch these Pokemon aside from bringing them from Pokemon Go? Now this is a very interesting question. Masuda goes on and says, Alolan Pokemon will not appear in the wild in-game, so you can't catch them in the wild. As such, they can't be caught in-game, which makes sense. However, it is possible to acquire them through means outside of Pokemon Go. I can't exactly say how to get them yet, but I will say that you get them through something that's a pretty well-established part of the mainline Pokemon series. Probably. Now, what I think here, I mean, he has to be talking about, like, the NPC trade. It's like the trade Pokemon. Like, someone's like, oh, trade me a Diglett and I'll give you an Alolan Rattata. Or, oh, trade me a Alolan Rattata, I'll give you an Alolan Diglett. You know, like, he has to be talking about trading or some kind of form, like, but we do know there's I think there's like 5 trainers that trade you Pokemon in the original Gen 1 games. Don't hold me to that. I can't really be sure on that. So next question here is, I see. I suppose that means that you can somehow get them even if you don't play Pokemon Go. By the way, what about the Pokedex? I think that players who have already caught all 151 Pokemon in Pokemon Go would be able to just transfer all their Pokemon through the Go part to complete their in-game Pokedex, for instance. What do you think about that? Now this question, like, stuck out to me, because we all know about that special Pokemon. If you don't know about it, I'll put a little card here up in the upper right hand corner that you could look at. I made a video on it about a month ago. It kind of ties into this here. So Masuda goes on and says, actually, it will only be possible to bring Pokemon over from Pokemon Go after reaching Fuchsia City, which we know. Until then, you'll have to use Pokemon that you can catch in-game. So even players who have only played Pokemon Go will be able to enjoy the game. Again, it'll all be a great deal of fun to play through, so do your best to catch them all. So that's what I thought was interesting. Like, he wants you, I believe I included here later on too, but he wants you to catch them all through the game. So, and that ties into that special Pokemon, which I believe I have they asked him again later, like another tie-in question to that. But let's just keep going down the list here. Oh yeah, it's right here, this next question right here. We can only wonder what's in store for us. We'll be paying close attention to the game's actual contents. Masuda said, again, I can't really say much, but if you catch all of the Pokemon within the Kanto region, something good is bound to happen. And there we go. There's that special Pokemon. So once you catch all 151 Pokemon, specifically in that Kanto region, maybe you unlock that special Pokemon. That's kind of what I'm leaning on for the most part. So that's really kind of exciting stuff right there. And he said, alright, let's switch gears now about the 2019 Pokemon game. Can you tell us anything about it in its current stage? Masuda goes on and says, as I've already mentioned, the Let's Go games were pretty challenging to develop. The 2019 title will truly be a game for those that are already fans of the core Pokemon series. Expanding the series onto the Nintendo Switch has definitely presented new challenges. So there we go. He's still considering Let's Go Pikachu core games. There's a lot of people debating, is it core? No, it's main. It's core? No, it's main. It doesn't matter. They're freaking Pokemon games. Freaking play them. Whatever. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just like, you're just wording things now. You know, like, it doesn't matter. And then the Pokemon's company president, Tezukazu Ishihara, announced that the 2019 title will have more of a hands-on playstyle. Can you tell us anything about that? So Masuda says, for the Let's Go games, we imagine that they'd be the kind of game that you play at home on your TV. The 2019 title, on the other hand, is the kind of game that one would play with their friends on their own Nintendo Switch systems. Those who are familiar with the series through the handheld titles will feel right at home. It'll be more closely aligned to a traditional Pokemon game. So there you go. 2019 is going to be a traditional Pokemon game. So we can stop the debate there. It's 2019 is going to be a traditional Pokemon game that we all know from the handhelds. So there we go. We can leave it at that. The next question is great. How do you have it? Now, do you have anything to say to fans who are eagerly waiting the release of the Let's Go games? Masuda says. And I just thought this was like a really nice, like kind of like a pump up, you know, question to kind of pump up the games, which I'm excited for. You should be excited for. We should all be excited for. We should all love it. You know, there should be no hate towards these games. Masuda says, the Let's Go games are a true reworking of the Pokemon formula. You can see Pokemon moving about on the map and can even walk with a partner Pokemon of your choosing. We really wanted to rework the game to capture the experience of being with your Pokemon. It truly captures a feeling we haven't been able to before, and I hope everyone enjoys that. We'd also love to see how people play this Pokemon game differently from past entries in the series. Again, you can play the game without having played Pokemon Go, but we found that Pokemon Go really increases the scope of the experience. Please enjoy the game as much as you can with your family and friends. If you're saying to yourself, I don't have anyone to play games with, don't worry, games are still fun to play alone, so please enjoy. So there we have it, guys. There's my 4-page summary of a 4-page article of questions, and it does cover a lot of interesting details. Some things I'm excited for. There are some things that I just wasn't really happy to hear. I mean, it's not gonna ruin the outlook for me, but it's not something that I guess I was kind of like denying until now he's setting it out there. Like the hand holding, I wanted like a completely different story, and to me it just sounds like it's gonna be the same story with more hand holding than the original. So I'm like, now you can't even get lost. So that's a little upsetting. But I mean, overall, it's not game breaking. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any more of my speculation videos and my Let's Play series, which is awesome, by the way. And leave a like if you guys like. Go ahead and comment what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.